The Menu is a 2022 American comedy horror film directed by Mark Mylod, written by Seth Rice and Will Tracy. The movie begins and a couple by the names of Tyler and Margot are getting ready to board a boat for Hawthorne, a restaurant run by a well-known chef. The dining venue is situated on an exclusive island. A short while later, the boat and additional people dining come. A cuisine reviewer named Lillian and her editor, Ted, are the visitors. Other attendees include an actor named George, and his assistant and girlfriend, Felicity, as well as Dave, Soren, and Bryce, three significant investors in the software industry. Affluent couple Richard and Ann. They board the boat a little while later, and Tyler is impressed by the exquisite dessert that is brought to them. The chief waitress of the restaurant, Elsa, greets and shows the visitors around the island shortly after they arrive. Elsa is shocked to find Tyler with a different date for the meal. She points out that Margot is not Tyler's original dinner companion. The island's splendor astounded the visitors. She showed the group the exclusive things they harvest and animals they breed and slaughter. Finally, Elsa leads the visitors to the restaurant's dormitory. Before inviting them to join her for their first lunch, she gives them an overview of their daily schedule and mealtime. The customers follow her into the eatery. Tyler spies a cottage on the way and asks if she would mind showing them around. Elsa, however, explains to him that it is the chef's house and says that even the personnel of the restaurant is not let inside. The guests enter the restaurant shortly after, but Elsa is uneasy because the doors are closed, keeping them within. Margot is interrupted by Elsa as she notices her curiously scanning the area. She leads her to the table where she will be eating with Tyler. The visitors are instructed to observe the chefs while they prepare their meals, but Elsa forbids them from taking pictures of the food. Soon after, Tyler manages to make an impression on one of the chefs and is shocked to discover that the chef recognizes his name. Tyler is informed by the cook that every member of the crew is familiar with the names of each visitor who has been invited to the island. Tyler eventually notices Julian Slowick, the chef, looking over the food. Their meals will arrive a short while later. While the guests are enjoying their first course, Tyler sneakily snaps a photo of it. But Elsa notices him from a distance. Unaware, Tyler continues to discuss his fascination with cooks, describing them as artisans who play with the raw components of life and death. His comments make an impression on Margot. The chef then requests the serving of the next course. The first time Julian has spoken to the visitors since their arrival, he warns them that they will consume a variety of delights during their stay and advises them to savor their food rather than simply swallowing it down because their menu is so priceless. Tyler cries as a result of Julian's remarks touching him. The second meal will soon be served, and this time the chefs have created a unique dish using every foodstuff on the island. The diners savor this entree as well, and the rich pair compares the dinner to eating the ocean. Elsa moves about the table watching the visitors while they eat. After a while, second course is served to the guests, but before serving, the chef tells the group about the history of bread and tells them that today they will not be served bread here. So the second course name is breadless bread plate with an unaccompanied accompaniments with a written note. As Tyler is fan of chef, so he enjoyed his meal without the bread, while there was a group of friends who did not like this thing. So they talk to Elsa and demand the bread for the course and tells her that they work with Doug Varick. But Elsa says no to their demands and whispered to one of the group member that here he will eat less than he desire and more than he deserve. Tyler accidentally knocks down a wine glass to catch Julian's eye as Margot maintains she won't eat the meal. Margot challenges Julian over the quantities even though Julian is startled that she hasn't touched her dish. She refuses to consume the food despite his polite request, so Julian leaves. Tyler reprimands her for making the chef feel bad. The chef passes a seated elderly woman by herself. The chef's mother turns out to be Margot. Meantime, continues to stare at the wealthy man. The chef then introduces the following dish, which is called memory. Then, he remembers the incident involving his father's drunken return to the house and argument with his mother. The situation quickly got out of hand, and Slowick's father then started strangling her with a phone wire. But just in time, a young Slowick interfered by using scissors to stab his father in the thigh. The guests find the tale to be unsettling, but they dismiss it since they believe it to be untrue. They soon receive tacos and house-smoked pork. Unexpectedly, each taco has a picture printed on it that will stir up vivid memories in any visitors. The tacos of the movie star feature a photo of his biggest flop, and the tacos of the food critic have pictures of the eatery she panned. The files of the businessmen also contain information on their unauthorized bank accounts. They threaten to close the business and immediately call Elsa to demand to know how the restaurant discovered this data. Elsa, however, declines to divulge anything and departs. Anne's tacos, meanwhile, include images of Richard and an unidentified young lady. She asks him to explain, but Richard says he doesn't know anything about the pictures. Tyler becomes agitated after seeing the laser-printed designs on the tortillas, prompting Margot to leave the dining table. She enters the ladies' room and is interrupted by the chef, who asks her why she isn't eating because he takes his job seriously and it bothers him. Margot tells him she is not hungry, and the chef questions her about her background and where she is from. Margot tells him she is from Grand Island, and she then exits the room. As the night goes on, secrets about each guest, ranging from affairs to money laundering, are slowly revealed amidst dialogue satirizing class divides. The chef again claps his hand and gets the attention of guests. He introduced the fourth course. The mess, cooked by sous chef Jeremy Loden, and then praised him while also telling the guests that Jeremy cannot become great since he is merely good and cannot compete with his prestige. He goes on to inform the guests that Jeremy's purpose was to work with him and that his life pressures forced him to create delicious meals. He then asks Jeremy whether he wants his life, to which Jeremy's voice trembles and his eyes well up, and he replies no to the chef. The chef then kisses him on his face. During the fourth course, a sous chef kills himself in front of the guests. This action causes disturbance in the guest. But the old lady and tells everyone there that it is the part of the menu and it is like in theater show. After some moments, they go back to their tables, but Richard has had enough and refuses to stay. Elsa asks him to go back to his seat repeatedly, but he ignores her. To everybody's shock, the staff members of the restaurant seize him and slice off his ring finger. The patrons are then threatened that if they even consider leaving and sabotaging the chef's painstakingly prepared meals, they would face a far more severe fate. Later, Slowick summons Margot to the kitchen and once more inquires about her identity. He tells her to be honest with him because he planned this event very carefully and her sudden arrival is ruining it. He also informs her that everyone will die tonight. Margot has 15 minutes to decide whether she wishes to die with the givers or the takers. She walks back to her table in tears, stunned and terrified. Before serving the fifth course, Slowick gives his captive diners the chance to question him, and one man wonders why he's acting this way. He answered that every individual here today is to some degree to blame for his loss of passion for his trade. The food critic was invited to the dinner because her bad reviews have caused many businesses to close, and her editor is to blame for letting her get away with it. Slowick drowns an angel investor of the restaurant in front of the guests, saying he always greedily asked for more profits. Later, he again calls Margot to his office and says her relationship with Richard. Finally, she reveals her identity, saying she is an escort and her real name is Erin. She says Richard is her former employer. Slowick sympathizes with her. The chef then entered the hall and informed everyone that the following course will be introduced outside, and that everyone should accompany him. When they arrived outdoors, the group of friends planned to flee, but everyone else assumed they would die. He then introduces a lady chef who has created the next course. She comes closer to chef and stabs him in the thigh. The chef then gives the male guest 45 seconds to escape before his team members go after them and catch them. If they are successful, they are free, while the female guest is taken back to the hall and served with another dish, where they discuss each other and appreciate the lady chef who cooked this, while the male guest is caught by the chef's team members. Julian reveals that Tyler was invited personally and knew all along that the dinner would end with everyone's death. So he invited Margot knowing full well she would die. Margot becomes so furious that she hit on Tyler. Chef then asked Tyler to join his kitchen as a chef. Julian humiliates Tyler further by forcing him to cook and insulting his food. The chef then whispered something to Tyler which leads him to leave with teary eyes. Then Julian asks Margot to collect a barrel needed for dessert, the last meal to be served. He gave his smokehouse keys to her. When he's about to leave, she saw Tyler has hung himself, causing Tyler to kill himself in a storeroom. Erin breaks into Slowick's cottage instead of going to smokehouse. She sees a locked room and tries to open it, but Elsa appears there. After a scuffle, Erin kills Elsa accidentally. Nervous, she unlocks Slowick's room using Elsa's keys. Inside, she comes across photographs and newspaper articles written about Slowick and the numerous accolades he has received over the years. In all the pictures, he appears sad and angry except in one from his teenage days when he used to work at a fast food chain. There, he used to make burgers and he had won the Employee of the Month. Next, she notices a radio in the room and she uses it to alert the Coast Guard about everything. She then returns to the restaurant with the barrel. A Coast Guard officer arrives from his boat, then reveals himself to be a line cook in disguise and returns to the kitchen. Margot mocks Julian's dishes and complains that she is still hungry. When Julian asks what she would like to eat, Margot requests a cheeseburger and fries, having previously seen a photo of a younger, happier Julian working at a fast food restaurant. Moved by her simple request, he prepares the meal to her specifications. Margot takes a bite and praises his food, then asks if she can get it to go. Julian packs the food for her, and he and the staff allow her to leave. Margot takes the Coast Guard boat docked nearby and escapes the island. The dessert is an elevated s'mores dish. The staff cover the floor with crushed graham crackers and adorn the guests with small capes made of marshmallows and hats made of chocolate. Julian then sets the restaurant ablaze, detonating the barrel and killing the guests, staff, and himself as Margot watches from the boat and unpacks her cheeseburger to go. And the movie ends here. To watch many more exciting recaps like this, don't forget to subscribe, as that's the only way we can keep making these fantastic recaps, and like this video. Thanks again for watching, and stay safe and healthy.